Many, many years ago lived an emperor who thought so much of new clothes that he spent all his money in order to obtain them. His only ambition was to be always well dressed. The only thing in fact he thought anything of was to go out and show himself off with new clothes as often as possible. He had a coat for every hour of the day, as often as you would say of a normal king. He is busy ruling the kingdom, you could say of him. The emperor is in his dressing room trying on new gear. One day, two swindlers came to this city and pretended to everyone that they were weavers. They said they could make the finest cloth anyone could imagine. The colors and pattern, they said, it's not only very beautiful, but it is made of a special material invisible to any person who was stupid. That must be a wonderful cloth, thought the emperor. If I were to be dressed in a suit made of this cloth, I would be able to find out which people in my kingdom are stupid and therefore should not be in their jobs. I must have this cloth made for me without delay. And he gave a large sum of money to those rascals in advance, so that they should get to work immediately. They set up two looms and pretended to be very hard at work. They asked for the finest silk and the most precious gold cloth. All the expensive material they got they hid away from themselves and worked at the empty looms till late at night. I'd love to know how they're getting on with the cloth, thought of the emperor, but he felt worried when he remembered that anyone who couldn't see it was stupid. He thought that of course he would be able to see it, but decided to send someone else first to check it out just in case. I shall send my honest old minister to the weavers, thought the emperor. He can see how it looks, for he is very clever. The good old minister went into the room where the swindler sat before the empty looms. Goodness gracious, he thought and opened his eyes wide. I cannot see anything at all. But he did not say so. Both swindlers told him to come near and asked him if he did not admire the lovely pattern and the beautiful colors, pointing to the empty looms. The poor old minister tried his very best, but he could see nothing, for there was nothing to be seen. Oh dear, he thought, can I be so stupid? I would never have thought so, and nobody must find out. Is it possible that I am too stupid to do my job? No, I cannot admit that I wasn't able to see the cloth. At last, the emperor wished to see it himself, while it was still on the loom. With a number of assistants, including the two who had already been there, he went to the two clever swindlers, who now worked as hard as they could, but without using any thread. Is it not magnificent? Said the swindler. Your Majesty must admire the colors and patterns, and then they pointed to the empty rooms, for they expected that the others could see the cloth. Really, he said, turning to the weavers, your cloth is wonderful, really wonderful. He nodded contentedly as he looked at the empty loom because he didn't want to say that he couldn't see anything. All his attendants who were with him looked, and although they couldn't see anything more than the others, they said, like the emperor, it is very beautiful, and all advised him to wear the new magnificent cloth at a great procession which was soon to take place. It's magnificent, beautiful, excellent, they said. Everybody seemed to be delighted, and the emperor appointed to the swindlers imperial court weavers. It was announced that it was time to start the procession. I am ready, said the emperor. Does not my suit fit me wonderfully? Then he turned once more to the looking glass so that people would think he was admiring his clothes again. Two boys were there to walk behind the emperor to hold up the train of the emperor's clothes, that is, the material from his clothes that would otherwise trail behind on the ground. They stretched their arms to the ground as if they lifted up the train and pretended to hold something in their hands. They did not like people to know that they could not see or feel anything. The emperor marched in the procession under a beautiful canopy, and all who saw him in the street and out of the windows exclaimed, indeed, the emperor's new suit is amazing. What a long train he has! How well it fits him! Nobody wanted to admit they saw nothing, for then it would mean they were too stupid. At last, a little girl piped up, But he has nothing at all. He's completely nude. Good heavens, I'm sorry about that, said the embarrassed father. He's just a simple girl who doesn't know any better. But soon the whole crowd was whispering what the child had said. He does have nothing at all, cried all the people, realizing the truth. The emperor suddenly realized they were right, but he thought to himself, now I must keep pretending until the end or I'll look even more stupid. So the emperor tried to walk with even greater dignity, while the crowd laughed and teased him all the way to the end. Afterwards, he sent his soldiers to arrest the two swindlers, but they had flew the city with all the money and precious material. For the rest of his days, people joke about the time the emperor went for a parade with no clothes on, and he never lived it down.